Hi, Tracy. I'm with Fresh Pair of Eyes. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm awesome. So this season and even last season too with Angie, she tends to have like these very crazy job opportunities. Like last season, it was Get Out the Musical. This season, she's auditioning for the musical for The Dip. How do you guys come up with like these very crazy ideas for Angie's jobs?
Ah, it's basically real life. The I hate to say this, but I just being in the writer's room will kind of talk about the jobs that are actually coming in. And they're usually like, it's a black version of this movie that came out in the 90s, and now we're going to make it a musical. Or it's like, we're going to turn this one song into a whole show. And so we're just like, okay, well, what's a funny thing that we've worked on or we've been pitched that we can kind of incorporate into Angie's world? And I feel like a lot of actors really get it because they're like, yeah, I auditioned for something literally like that last week, that even though we're mocking it, they've been through those auditions for those types of shows. And with Get Out, it actually turned out better than it was supposed to be a really bad show. And then after it, people were asking, I kid you not, about the rights to doing it and if we could really do a Get Out on Broadway. And I was like, now that is not art imitating life. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it was pretty funny.
So the show, the a lot of the premise of the show is taking like this anthropological look on Black women and their experiences and friendship in Harlem as a whole. Why did you decide to go that route when presenting the show in each episode and keeping that thread going through season two?
Honestly, it was like loosely based on a friend of mine who's a black PhD in anthropology, and she is always giving me tidbits on dating through an anthropological lens, and it's like slightly annoying, but also like really informative and interesting that there's like a history behind all of this stuff. And then also, I just really liked showing a black PhD and like exploring the world of academia because I don't think there's enough of that representation. And we've seen the traditional writer before, the blogger, or we've seen the novelist, or screenwriter. But I was like, academics are writers too, and they're coming at things through an intellectual lens, and it would be really interesting to kind of use that character to add some themes from an anthropological point of view. But I have a friend who really is an anthropologist, and that's where it came from.
Awesome. That's super interesting. About hearing feedback from Black Twitter and stuff as a creator. And I feel like it's a lot of times with like quote unquote Black television shows that we as Black people feel very comfortable vocalizing what we want and what we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
As a creator, how do you take that feedback but also separate it as in like, well, I have a story that I want to tell, so I'm going to have to make a decision that might not be the most popular one at times?
Yeah, it's this is a great question, and it's a complicated one for me. Um, I do think some of the downsides of Black Twitter criticism is that I see a lot of there's two things that I'll focus on that like drive me crazy. One is the expectation that each show or movie that comes out has to represent every aspect of blackness, which is impossible. I mean, we just cannot do it. No one thing can ever like fully represent our community because we are so different and there's so many aspects to explore that it's an impossible task. And then two, I do feel like people sometimes don't like characters to make mistakes on screen. I see that criticism a lot where they're like, why would she sleep with this person, or why would she do that? She's ruining blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so we all in life make mistakes too. We all like make faulty decisions or hook up with people that we know we shouldn't, or embarrass ourselves or humiliate ourselves, or do things that degrade us, like as far as like, we stay with men that treat us badly. These are real things that people do, but for some reason, I think sometimes people try to hold characters to a higher standard than like reality. And so I always like beg people to like let the characters fall on their faces and let them make mistakes, because that's real. It's real life, but also it's not interesting television to watch people that are perfect and that don't have conflicts. It just isn't from a like from a writing point of view. So those are the two that I can't really like take that type of criticism. But everything else, especially when it's valid, I really do take that stuff to heart. Maybe too much so, but because I do want to improve and I do care about what people think. And if certain things are resonating with them, I'm like, great, let's do more of that. Or if like it's really not working, it's a good barometer for that too, because art is kind of fluid in that way. And so I'm never like married to a storyline. So if I have an idea and then like other people are not feeling it, I'm like, okay, let's scrap that. And like there's new storylines, but just for me personally, no, I'm not married to anything. So I do appreciate Black Twitter's honesty in that regard, because how else are you going to know what's working, what's not? So I think it's a good dialogue, but I can't fix everything. And also people are just going to not like your stuff. Even if you did a great job, it doesn't matter. Some people are just going to be there to criticize, and that type of feedback I can't really do anything about.
Yeah, it's definitely a gift and a burden.
For sure.